Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Ohayo gozaimasu, konnichiwa, konbanwa. My name is Doug Brunke. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. I'm feeling a little Japanese there, I guess, with the Zen garden behind me. That must be it. We're not talking about Japan today, but there might be an opportunity that comes up. We are talking about opportunities primarily in the UAE and in Saudi Arabia. I'd like to kick off the conversation with Vinayak Gupta, because he's our advisory board chair in the San Francisco area, and he has a situation where he's got to leave and then come back. So I want to make sure that he has an opportunity to make some opening comments. Vinayak, besides being our leader for the Bay Area of San Francisco, including Oakland and where Laney is in San Jose area, what's called Silicon Valley, is he's an expert on projects. He's worked on some really huge projects. And these days, he's working on some really interesting opportunities with energy, microgrids, and other opportunities. I'm real excited to have worked and collaborated with Vinayak for many years, even longer than Global Chamber's been around. He's been a longtime member, and we're really pleased to have him as our advisory board in San Francisco. The purpose of this conversation today, this Globinar, is primarily Bay Area and then the Middle East, but we are going to focus in primarily on the UAE and Saudi Arabia with some other opportunities. But given that Vinayak is in the room, given that he's an expert in Silicon Valley and technology and energy and battery storage and solar and a variety of other, and water, I thought it'd be appropriate for him to kick us off and say some opening words. Vinayak, please go ahead.
Thank you. First off, can you all hear me?
We can. Yes, we can.
Awesome. Thank you. So my sincere apologies for not staying on the call for a longer period. And I, excuse me, I apologize to you, and I apologize to the team who was on the call. I'm humbled to be part of this team, and really, really look forward to driving a close collaboration between Silicon Valley and UAE and Saudi Arabia and other countries from that perspective. So as Doug mentioned, given we have limited time on the call, I'll take a few minutes to talk about what some of the opportunities and areas I'm seeing in the world to collaborate, both in the world of energy and high tech. I have a background in both of the industries, spent about half my life building microprocessors and deploying semiconductors factories around the world. And then the rest of the half, I have been blessed to be involved with clean energy. Clean energy in that regards. Clean energy goes from solar, wind, batteries, hydrogen, water in that regard. So it's truly a privilege and pleasure to be a part of this team this point in time. From what I see as a vantage point, and we can dig deeper into it at a later point, is if we look at just purely energy sector, I see a huge amount of opportunities coming here, both in the world of collaborating with with the countries in the Middle East, but also driving close collaboration and cooperation with Silicon Valley, especially in the world of, like I see in the world of manufacturing, be it batteries, be it solar, be it hydrogen, be it water areas from that perspective, where as we see a whole lot of challenge going around the world in terms of clean energy deployment and taking advantage of the COP28 chairman, who we are blessed to have from the UAE. From that perspective, pardon me if I'm a little bit not having the best voice, and I apologize. What Doug mentioned, I have a situation where I need to be away at 8:20 or in 15 minutes from now, and then I'll try and come back as soon as possible on the call. But looking at it from the point of view in terms of driving collaboration in the world of manufacturing and clean energy, and then taking that world and driving opportunities in the world of energy deployment and taking advantage of the COP28 mandate, I think it's like front and center in our in the focus that we have right now. And the mandates that we have are not 20 years, 30 years ago away, but they are within 5 years from now, like 2030. 2035, 2040, and then 2050 to, do the thing that we need to do as leaders around the world and take advantage and collaborate with teams globally to be able to really, really make an impact in that regards. But right on the heels of that is, as we see, the world of opportunities in the world of in Middle East is especially is semiconductor and tech manufacturing. I think that has been left a little bit untouched, and in some way, shape, or form, if we can figure out a way, as we see, TSMC is making huge dent in Arizona in that regards. So something to ponder in that sense, that why can't we do that in the Middle East in that regard. So those are some of the areas I'm very deeply focused in, both in terms of energy generation, clean energy generation, deployment, and tech. And what Doug mentioned briefly about microgrids. So one of the biggest challenges that we see here in the United States and around the world is how do we generate energy, transmit and distribute, but also drive energy security. Energy security. So those four areas allow us to think through, can we change the narrative and versus totally be dependent on the utilities and generating energy in remote areas and then using very expensive transmission and distribution network to deploy that, and can we change the narrative to go to microgrids? And if you would allow me one more minute in that regards, if you go back to the early 1980s, you look at when the world of computers was dependent on mainframes, and then came the PCs and the laptops, and it really globalized and galvanized the world of computing. Then if you take that narrative and come to late 1990s and early 2000s, where we had hardwired landlines, and the world of communication changed from hardwired and landlines to just going wireless, and that really galvanized the communication infrastructure. And then you go to into the late 2010s, which is exactly where we are in the world of energy, both in terms of coal, oil, and solar, wind, etc. From that perspective. So if you take that narrative, the world is moving towards microgrids, where microgrids, in my perspective, what I mean by that is you're taking an area that could be anywhere from very small scale, which I won't address, like in terms of residential, but going into commercial and industrial scales, where you have industries or you have logistics infrastructure, and you want to bring power to them, and use the clean energy network to really offload the grid distribution from that perspective. So we can talk about that at a later point in time, but I see there is a huge opportunity to collaborate together and bring both sides closer and closer and make an impact in the clean energy. I'll pause there, given we have a degree of audience on the table, and I think this could galvanize a conversation where we could really move forward in the future. And it goes all the way from new technology generation, where Silicon Valley plays a huge part, finding and funding those opportunities in the world of especially in the world of battery technologies, but hydrogen. You talk about batteries, hydrogen, wind, and solar. The innovation is happening at a furious pace in that regards, and that's where a lot of Silicon Valley comes into play. And then you take that and deploy that into manufacturing sector, and deploy that energy and realize COP28 mandate from that perspective. So let me pause there, Doug, because otherwise I'll keep speaking, and take some thoughts and questions. But please, I'll hand it over to you, Doug.
So that sounds good. I think that this was important as a starting point for a couple of reasons. First of all, for people to know who you are and your new role with the advisory board in Global Chamber and in the Bay Area, the expertise that you have from Tesla through all of the different projects that you've been involved with, and being on the cutting edge of some really interesting technologies going forward. You and I met when you were involved with a business that converted solar energy into fresh water off the grid. Here you're talking about energy that's in untraditional grids, microgrids and others, and as the world evolves, the technology evolves, and our security evolves. And so thank you for bringing all those points up. I'll also say, as we will transition now into the team from Global Chamber and UAE and Saudi Arabia, and also the CBS group, it's been said, and I've heard people say, that semiconductors are the new oil. And so I'm glad you brought up semiconductors. That's where much of the foreign direct investment is happening now, not just in the US, as you point out, with TSMC in Arizona or in Kumamoto, Japan, where TSMC is invested there. But the Korean government's announced over $100 billion in investments in the semiconductor industry. And other countries, Israel, the number one employer is Intel. You've got, the Netherlands. You've got countries all over the world that are not just making semiconductors themselves, but also they're in the supply chain. And so strategically, investing in semiconductors seems like a much better bet these days than oil. The good news for the Middle East is that a lot of money has been made from oil. A lot of money continues to be made from oil, and that can then be utilized in a variety of different ways, including semiconductor investment, as you point out. I think that has started for sure. And also in energy, where alternative energies, including hydrogen in the microgrid concept that you've talked about. We're seeing a lot more investment in nuclear, and also kind of micro nuclear type of installations. Being a chemical engineer and having some knowledge about that, I think we've seen that and how that's transpired in terms of it came, it went. It's coming back in a different form. Hydrogen, similarly, 20, 30 years ago, that was a big deal. And then it kind of disappeared because of a variety of issues, including logistics and safety. And now it's coming back, or I believe it's coming back, because it's just going to make logical sense. And the technology issues, I think, will be resolved. And so the Middle East, I think, is right in the center of a lot of these types of issues and a lot of these opportunities. And so I think today's conversation is a really good stepping stone. Then we'd like to first next introduce, and thank you, Vinayak, like to introduce Adel Awadhi. He's the co-founder and chairman of the corporate group. I called them CBS, but that's not right. It's TCG. I, for some reason, think of CBS, and I shouldn't. TCG is the acronym. He is also the executive director of Global Chamber UAE. Adel comes from a family that is very well connected in the UAE. He himself is deeply connected to the business community, not just in the UAE, but across the region. And we really value, Adel, your knowledge and expertise and those connections. Thank you for taking some time today. You'll kick off with the UAE, and then Ayman is going to be talking about Saudi Arabia. Please go ahead. Thank you for sharing today.
Thanks, Doug, for the introduction, and it was great to hear from Gupta also in terms of what's globally going on, and especially in the areas of energy, and what UAE has done and hosted few months back, or last year it was, on more of the energy side and sustainability, and that's one of the agenda on the UAE as well as on the global economy, I think. So I would like to present my slides, so just give me a minute.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for joining while Adel is calling that up. I see people from around the world, and then once Adel and Ayman speak, and throughout this, we have a number of people in the audience who have some additional comments as well. So Karen, thank you for joining, and all the others who've agreed to say a few words.
So is it now, you can see my slides?
Not yet.
Not yet. 1 second.
Doug and Adel, I forgot to mention one sector while you're bringing your slides up is utilizing or taking advantage of the initiatives that are going on in driving net zero initiatives in affordable housing. So we can talk about that offline later. I think Middle East plays a huge role in that regards, huge role.
Oh, great. And that's actually a topic that I've wanted to have us address. We have a member who's involved with that. So
Still not there?
not yet, Adele. Do we have a copy of them? Maybe we can put them up, or does anybody else on the team there?
Yeah, maybe my brother, he can do it. Ayman, are you there?
Ayman, do you have Adele's slides?
Yes, I do have.
I sent you email, yeah. And you can.
Yeah, you have sent it to my email. I can pull it up from there.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay.
So
Yes,
well,
I got it.
yeah, well, I meant for there, I will start with my introduction. So we're talking about investments and business opportunities and everything. And I just wanted to bring to the attention of the audience that the UAE was ranked second globally in the number of the greenfield FDI, foreign direct investment projects in 2023, with a number of 1,300 projects around. That was and I think US came after that, so that's a great achievement for the UAE. And actually, in terms of the cities, also Dubai was ranked number one, and retained its position to be the leading city in the number of greenfield FDI projects, superseding Singapore and London, and then also Abu Dhabi was also ranked number 6 with over 170 projects. So all of this sees that there's a lot of capital inflow into the region, and specifically in UAE, and that's a very good sign in terms of where UAE is building its economy and building its map in terms of being the hub for the between East and West. And specifically in the new areas such as energy, sustainability, environmental, and so forth. So in terms of getting into the market, I mean, there are always different or specific methods that you could get into it for any type of and sizes of the businesses, whether they are SMEs or multinational corporations. So one is export model, another one is more of a licensing and franchising. And then you've got the joint venture model, and another way is where you set up your own business. I mean, in terms of the businesses, we have we as a company and the corporate group, we facilitate this and work with the government in attracting a lot of those foreign investments in different sectors. Whether these entry could be on a merger acquisitions, or it's a greenfield investment, or something their own setup. And for companies, they have to do this. They have to be well prepared and equipped, whether they have their own investment pitch or they have their own business plans. They have their marketing study and competitive landscape, knowing the laws and business compliance, and having the right business acumen. And then also they have to have the right documentation or registration for them to address the business. And these are where our expertise, and we have a team specialized in specific sectors and advising companies and entrepreneurs how to enter the market. I mean, there are also a bit of opportunities before you decide to step into forming your own company. We would always suggest and encourage business missions and business matching. So we do few of those opportunities working with different governments, promotion boards, and export agencies from different countries where they're trying to support their SMEs or to support their companies to go overseas, and we work regularly with them and host these kind of things. And we also encourage trade shows. Trade shows are a method maybe to explore the business, to explore the landscape, to explore the opportunities, especially UAE, both Dubai, Abu Dhabi, they host a lot of, I would say, not only regional events, but also international events. We are kind of a leading in few number of events I could mention. One is in the defense and air show. There is another one on the food sector. There's also in the healthcare sector. There's also into construction and real estate. And few of those are the leading. You know, when I say leading is Dubai or Abu Dhabi is ranked number either 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 in the world in terms of the size of those exhibitions and conferences and summits that they do. So I encourage to visit those websites and get to know what are the opportunities for you and get linked to that one. Besides that, you know, there is a lot of, today actually I'm here in Cyprus, attending one of the leading, global leading startups and investors gathering with more than 10,000 people, and Reflect Festival is the one they do it every year here. And similarly, we have hosted many of those events in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and in the region. And we would like encourage for people who are in the space of entrepreneurship and startups and technology and fintech and so forth to explore and participate or visit to one of those major events that Dubai hosts or UAE hosts, as well as explore and partner with some of the incubator and accelerator that are there. And as a corporate group, we also provide such a service. Next slide, Ayman, if you allow. So again, we touched down on these ones, and UAE is leading, and the region is also exploring a lot of opportunities on startups and tech, not only UAE, but that's where the opportunities are in the region. Maybe next one, just for the sake of time. Doing business in the UAE, you have got 2 ways to do it. We've got something called free zones. Free zones is more of like economic and special zones that are created in the past, attracting foreign investment, giving ownerships and guaranteeing no corporate or income tax and so forth. And today UAE has more than 46 free zones that are specialized. So some free zones are more on the tech, on the technology. Some free zones are more associated with the logistics and sea and shipments, and some are there attached to the airport with light industrial and encouraging luxury goods and transshipment and using the air side. And others are more specific in terms of healthcare sector or maybe any other specific sectors. But you also have the regulated mainland. So mainland is more on the working with the local governments, the economic department, getting your registration, and you yourself operating in as a Emirati, as a local company set up, and then you could avail that and explore and expand into the region. In the mainland, when you are operating, you will be some activities bounded with approvals from government bodies. If it's specifically related to pharmaceutical, or if it's related, for example, to food or other things, you would need to obtain approvals from other authorities. And this is, I think, the same practice globally. The legal structure, there are ways to establish your company. It could be sole establishment, it could be limited liability with single ownership, or it could be civil company partnership, or a foreign of a branch company. And I think one of the advantage of setting up in UAE and specifically on the mainland and avoiding the branch is you have the double taxation treaty with over 100 countries. So that's you need to look at those laws that will help you in the taxation, so you don't do double taxation. And UAE introduced corporate tax recently with a single digit, so that's 9% corporate tax applied for companies who are doing more profit over $100,000. And there are some exemptions to those corporate tax, but it depends on the type of the nature of your business. But I think they're trying to benchmark globally that they're still below 10% and attracting more global hub companies and using Dubai as a hub for the region. And maybe my brother Ayman, he would be highlighting on how this is related to Saudi Arabia opportunities as well. On a level of distribution market, so that's another entry model is the region is looking at organic foods. They're looking at sustainable products, plant-based and innovative products overall. If it's non-food products, we're already looking for a zero waste and eco-friendly packaging and so forth. So if there are companies that they want to enter the market, I would encourage them in these kind of areas. It would be something really needed. And in terms of the importation, a bit of highlight, we talked about the regulations with some other governments, but usually we have a fixed rate of imported custom duty, which is 5% applicable to most of the products. Except maybe alcohol and tobacco, I think is 100% tax, and then you've got a VAT of 5% that is applied in UAE, and depends on the products. You have to go through the registrations and whether it's municipality or local authorities or the federal level of a standardization if it's related to electronics and other products. I won't go details in the product registration details, but there are certain steps, certain requirements that you need, such as labels has to have Arabic version besides the English, and some other few details in terms of requirement. So that's on a nutshell on the distribution channel, and when you want to import your goods or export your goods from your country to UAE, you need to make sure that you have those information. And I leave it to this level without going further details. If there are any questions from the audience, I would be happy to take it up.
Fantastic. That would be great. Any questions? I don't see any hands raised, but either raise your hand or just unmute yourself and ask the question. Those of you that are in the area undoubtedly can relate to a lot of what Adel spoke about. Any questions, please? In hearing none, continue to formulate your questions and your ideas and thoughts, and we'll continue to go step by step. Ayman, if you wouldn't mind taking the next step, I think you're going to be focused in on KSA, so you're going to be talking about Saudi Arabia opportunities.
For sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let me share my screen.
Please go ahead. Ayman, by the way, is as Adel mentioned earlier, is the brother of Adel, and they work together based out of the UAE, but Ayman spends a lot of time and may even be based in Riyadh. I'm not sure. Do you have a base in Riyadh, right? There's an office?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Doug, for the brilliant opportunity indeed. And today with 1 hour and 50 minutes, I'll be taking you on a flight time from Dubai to Riyadh, where you can explore the city and the kingdom in its best position possible. Riyadh and Saudi Arabia, it's opening up its arm to the whole world to welcome foreign direct investments as continuation to the development of the ecosystem in the GCC, which UAE has started a long time ago, and Saudi Arabia embarking the development cycle since pre-COVID time. Through this presentation, I'll walk you through 10 minutes of what we could see from as a helicopter view, starting from the Saudi Vision 2030. Saudi Vision is the driving factor of all the development and the business opportunities out there in the kingdom. And it's very important to understand how these visions are layered in terms of execution in order for us to grasp the business opportunities out there. So they are built on several economic reforms to enhance the local content and bring up the right information about Saudi's capabilities across all business sectors and social life, and also to increase the national industry, because Saudi is very well diverse in terms of industry and manufacturing activities. Also to launch and develop promising economic sectors that has significant growth and thriving in the Saudi landscape, along with maximizing the role of private sector and SMEs. There is no doubt, likewise in UAE, Saudi Arabia is also very much strong in terms of SMEs being the contributing factor of its economy and GDP. Enhancing sustainability of public financing so that Saudi will be able to sustain on a non-oil revenue. So therefore, there will be less dependency on oil and more dependency on non-oil, revenue streams. Vision 2030 is actually built around 3 pillars. So let's explore one at a time. Vibrant society, a society that is completely different in terms of experience and diversity from north to south, east to west, because Saudi Arabia has a vast landscape to explore. Thriving economy of so much of business opportunities, and that can be found from services all the way to manufacturing and industries. An ambitious nation. Why? Because the nation has a very ambitious plan to take up the ladder to best ranking and positions, across the globe in many different sectors, and that is very eminent and visible through Vision 2030. From the Vision 2030, we will see, and there are 6 main objectives, which is deriving the 27 branch objectives, in which 96 strategy objectives are cascaded down to enable this thing happen. So as you can see, I'm trying to break down the pieces of the 2030 vision of Saudi Arabia that shows you how depth is of the Vision 2030 is. And I will be highlighting on certain strategies, national strategies, so that you can have an idea about. So let's investigate one at a time. The national investment strategy, the goals include tripling the investment volume, doubling the domestic investments, and multiplying 20 times of FDI comparing to the past. So this is what is all about as a national investment strategy. The strategy is also built on 4 pillars: investment opportunities, providing or welcoming investors for investments into the kingdom, funding by providing funding opportunities for these businesses to grow and scale up, and also competitiveness and enablers through activation, number of programs and activities that will make these happen. The national transportation and logistics strategy is also one of the main national strategies within the Vision 2030. So it is there to transform the kingdom into a global, logistics hub, and 25%, reduction in fuel consumption because of the wide network of, infrastructure that is going to have in Saudi Arabia in terms of road and transportation, and that also it's expected to increase the contribution of that sector in the GDP from 6 to 10%, and also increase, and that will also eventually lead into increased non-oil revenue from 12 billion to $12 billion, annually by 2030. The national tourism strategy, it will basically has a contribution of 10% to the national GDP and can create around 1.6 million job opportunities by 2030, in which the tourism strategy is expected to achieve 100 million overnight visits to the kingdom, and that's also including the what they call it, the Islamic tourism, which means or the religious tourism, which is Mecca and the Holy Lands. This comprehensive strategy promotes across all the business verticals, from accommodation, travel, food and beverage, and so on. And then the other strategy that I would like to showcase here is the national transport strategy, which we have indicated already, and this is actually going to give you a glimpse in terms of what free trade zones are going to be launched in terms of operation. As what Adel said, that in UAE it has started since 1984. With many business parks available in Dubai and the UAE. Today, UAE has more than 35 free zone or free trade zones scattered, majority in Dubai. Saudi Arabia is following the path of creating diverse free trade zones. That is, majority of them is equipped through industry and manufacturing activities. You can see from the kingdom map that you've got the eastern province, whereas Ras Al Khair is one of the free trade zones, which is focusing on the eastern side of the kingdom. And then you have the mid class, which is Saudi SILZ, which is the special economic zone, which is near by a short drive to the Saudi to the Riyadh airport, and then King Khalid International Airport, and then also Jeddah, where you can see King Abdullah economic city, which is into the west side, 9 o'clock direction, and that's a very thriving free zone. Now, the laws of the free trade zones, they just published last year, and therefore it is expected to be operational by end of this year, and we are waiting for further updates in terms of the exact type of licensing and the scheme of the ownership and the benefits behind it, such as free zero tax, or tax exemption for the full foreign ownership and so forth. This is a glimpse of the free trade zones that's available in Saudi Arabia. Throughout our network and our activities that we conduct both in the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and the GCC, we try to engage our people, our customers, our business partners in engaging activities such as these business networking events. So we have our upcoming business networking event happening in Riyadh. It's called Tableau Riyadh, and I would encourage everyone to take your mobile and scan this QR code. It will take you to an RSVP link where you can navigate and look after certain details that might be of interest of you, it's happening on 6th of June, and it's basically founders and investor dinner meeting where people can explore the opportunities in the Saudi Arabia, and meeting relevant investors in Saudi Arabia, and meeting with like-minded people within Riyadh as the capital of Saudi Arabia. With this, I'm also concluding my presentation with my LinkedIn profile. So you can here also scan the QR code, which will take you to my profile to be connected. And I'm available to assist you here for any question that you might have. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ayman. Please either unmute yourself or raise your hand. Happy to take questions along the way. I'd like to first go to Karen Dufour Deschamps. She is in Oman. I believe you're in Oman today, and I'd be curious to hear your reaction to both of the presentations, and then maybe add any comments that you'd like to make, including for Oman.
Thank you, Doug. Salam alaikum, my UAE and colleagues. I'm actually back in the US. I just returned from Oman about a month ago, and I've been working in the GCC for the past 10 years. So I started in Saudi, actually started with Saudi Aramco as a corporate executive and leadership coach, working with their emerging leaders, and then went to Oman and did a similar in the oil and gas industry. And I really appreciate both of you gentlemen's updates. I was last in Saudi earlier last year, and I've seen so many changes from when I first went there in 2014 to today, certainly in terms of economics, the changes on the cultural levels as well. So my question's a bit sensitive, and I want to preface that this has been my perspective, and I'd really love to hear your perspective, especially being an Emirati in Saudi, and your work in Oman as well. So I am both Canadian and American, and I've been in the whole region on my American passport. And this past 6 months in Oman, I had a very different kind of reception than I've had before, given some of the geopolitics that are happening because of the war. And I know it's not a comfortable topic to talk about, but I do think it's important that we as a global community really understand what may be issues that could impact our effectiveness. So for example, I have a longstanding client in Saudi. I've done work with them as an executive and leadership coach for, over 5 years. They had a good client for me. And then in the end, they said, sorry, Karen, we can't contract with you because you're an American and what's happening in Gaza. I've never had that before. That was a real surprise to me. Being in Oman, as you probably know, things are even more sensitive in terms of, Omanis are walking around with an app. I don't know if this is true in UAE, with all the companies, American companies, that they are boycotting. We can understand these dynamics. I had never had it personally affect me like I had this time, where doors were closed because of my nationality. So I was just wondering, can you talk about what you might be hearing and seeing both in UAE and in Saudi? Is my experience a one-off?
I think framed in a question relative to what Global Chamber is all about is, given that, certainly give us your response, guys, but then what should Americans do? What's our action plan? Do we back away from the region? Do we handle things or say things in different ways? What's the action that we potentially could be taking given what you're seeing out there right now?
Yeah, I can take this answer or this question. Karen, I think you are not the only person who is facing such challenge. As a matter of fact, it's an anecdote that we as Emirati companies, we are actually facing the same in Oman. And guess what? We're trying to distribute food products into Oman, and our retailers such as Carrefour are not able to sell these products. And when we are asking them why, they are saying that Omani population are boycotting Western products, and that's why they have shifted their attention from Carrefour to other, hyper supermarket chains. Yes. So we are all in the same basket, unfortunately. Being American or being Emirati, being GCC national, if the moment they consider boycotting, then yes, we will be facing the impact. And I believe that this is not the first time, and it's not going to be the last time that we're going to face this issue, because the region has been through a turmoil in the past many years. And this phenomena, unfortunately, is something that needs to be handled and needs to be well taken care of. And that doesn't mean that we should stop doing business. We should look for alternatives in terms of rerouting certain business models and seeking some other alternative options where the American brand or the American engagement might not necessarily be fronting the engagement, and therefore looking after associations and so forth, so that you can always be able to still deliver, but you need to go through certain frontier mechanism. So I think there is always a challenge, and we just need to bring up our entrepreneurship skill, entrepreneurship spirit, where we always know that there is always a challenge out there, and we need to turn the challenge to an opportunity. And then we carry on, because we know that this is going to be a temporary stage or status, and then we should be back on surface and skyrocketing the momentum.
That's excellent, Ayman. I really appreciate it. And that's exactly what I've been pivoting as I was leaving Oman, as I partnered with another small sole entrepreneur company who's an Indian national, who's been in Oman for 35 years, has a great reputation. And I said, can I just come under your company when there's opportunities and promote? Sure. Because it's not about my company name, it's about the services I deliver. And if that looks better, I'm happy to do that. So you're right about seeing this as an opportunity to collaborate with others who are already there. And you're also right that this isn't the first time nor the last time. So yes.
Great perspectives. Love it. Feel free to either raise your hand or unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question. I see Mona is unmuted. Mona, did you have a question or a comment, please?
Yes, please. Whenever the next person is done.
Oh, okay. That sounds good. I think Riyadh, you're in the room, and I know you were going to make a comment as well, given the activities that you have in the Middle East. Is there anything that you either wanted to ask about or mention at this point, and then we'll go to Mona's question or point.
Thanks, Doug. Assalamu alaikum. This is Riyadh. I've been co-founder with Cypher1. I've been the director with Amazon in an executive role. Thank you for the insightful presentation. Really insightful to understand the Middle East, business model and the overall operational model. We are building an integrated solution for Middle East, so we look forward to enter.
Do you have your camera by any chance?
I am in a place where there's a lot of noise around background, so I'm not getting my camera on.
I see. Okay.
And quickly to summarize, the integrated restaurant management services globally, and then we are into business consulting and executive leadership coach. I shared my website in the chat window. We look forward for the collaboration.
Very good. Thank you for sharing. Really interesting technology, and given, I think, with what both Adel and Ayman mentioned, there's a lot of opportunity, and technology is driving a lot of that. Mona, coming back to you. What
Yes.
comment, question did
Yeah,
you have?
I just had a request for Ayman. I came back from Riyadh about 4 months ago, exploring
Yeah.
opportunities available there as I've been working with a lot of investors from Saudi Arabia and the region. And I wanted to reach out to you because I am planning to take a delegation from here from Florida to Riyadh to
Yeah.
explore opportunities. And I wanted to make sure that I connect with somebody that is well versed and knowledgeable in the market and professional, and of course, a member of the Global Chamber. And as far as another comment, just to add to what Karen was questioning about, I mean, just a matter of perspective and matter of communication. There is a high tension. There is consensus of boycotting just because of the damage and the suffering and all of that. And then there is a feeling of brotherhood and all of that understood. But as far as your work goes, you continue to deliver this service, and you are an agent of peace. After all, if you are working with leaders to work as far as differences in cultures, you are an agent of peace, and you just find a way to deliver that. If it's not feasible at the moment, don't put your guard down. Don't put your, you just say, okay, that's it for me. I'm not going there. No, continue to do that. At the end of the day, the region has so many wonderful people, and their emotions, sometimes emotions in conflicts like this are high, but they're always wise heads that are willing to listen and accept and communicate and collaborate.
Great. Yes, indeed. Yes, we are happy to assist you for the business delegations from Florida. As a matter of fact, we assisted University of Florida students, MBA students. They visited Dubai before the pandemic, and I gave them a walk through UAE landscape, and it was interesting, conversation with the delegation of 15 people. And we can do the same for you in Saudi Arabia. We should be discussing for more details to set your program in a proper position for the Saudi Arabia.
Thank you very much. Zach Selch was going to be here and was not able to attend. I don't see him in the room. There was a chance that he might be able to attend. He's got a distribution network of over 10,000 organizations around the world, and he has an expertise around the Middle East. And so I thought having his voice here would be very additive. So if you don't know Zach, he's on our Global Chamber Chicago advisory board, and I recommend, if you're doing sales in the region, to contact him as well as all of our speakers here today. Wondering, just a quick question, and then maybe Adel, you and Ayman can summarize so we can close the room and finish up by the top of the hour. The question I have, actually maybe for you, Ayman, is for NEOM. I heard this 30+ mile real estate project is now focused in on about a mile to be completed over a finite period of time. Could you comment a little bit about the reality of what's going on there and how we should view that as either as an opportunity or just another wonder of the world?
Yes. My personal perspective and view in this is that the similar exercise happened in Dubai 10 years ago or even 15 years ago, when Dubai launched giga projects such as Jumeirah Palm and Jebel Ali Palm and Ward Islands and so forth. What happened is that Dubai wanted to establish its footprint and its uniqueness, on the global map when it comes to superlative projects in terms of size, volume, and value. But down the road, as you could see, there was some projects which was shelved out and some projects which was scaled down and so forth, and then that was very sort of a norm to go through certain changes, and then eventually you could see all those projects come into alive with full scale. And I believe Saudi Arabia wanted to make a big bang in terms of its ambitious, and therefore they went very ambitious in their plan, and same as any other countries could do. And having said this, those projects such as NEOM, they could actually easily start with first block, making the first block, which is a 1 mile, long. And then once upon success of this, they will make it stages in terms of stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4. So scalability is the key of these projects. However, when they introduce it in terms of the larger picture, which is that long or that distance in terms of the project. But nevertheless, these projects is happening on live. The current scale itself is huge, though upon completion of first phase, scalability of these projects is very much possible, and then adapting those population, technologies, and raw materials, and all components to create an ecosystem by itself in this new area development is going to be happening within a matter of a couple of years. So that's my personal perspective, and I think things is still developing and evolving. There are 4 giga projects happening in Saudi at the same time. A couple of them is in Riyadh. 2 of them is on the Red Sea and the west coast of the kingdom, and 1 of them is on the east coast. So I think these ones are still happening, and they are the main components of the Vision 2030.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for that perspective. Cesar, I got your text. Is this Zoom link being used, or this account being used for another event, or do we have a minute or two for Adel to make some final comments?
Hi, Doug. I think it's because of your account, the Doug one, that you're using to join this one. But Elisa can confirm. I think she was open the room, but you have both of the accounts signed in for this event.
I see. Okay. So if I leave, I'm not sure exactly how to do that because I probably am logged in. So maybe would you be able to finish up the meeting if I log off?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Are you a host? Let me see. Where are you? I don't see you for some reason. Let's see. Why don't I see you? Oh, there you. Well, no, where are you? Oh, Cesar. Okay. So let's. Oh, you are a host. Okay. So I'm going to pass. I'm going to log off because I'm logged into another Zoom account that we need for another event. I really want to thank everybody for attending today, and I'll let Cesar finish up the room. Thank you, Ayman. Thank you, Adel. You're amazing.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Doug, and thanks, Ayman and Adel. I think we're moving with you for the final words. Are you available to say a few words to wrap up the event? Is Adel still in there?
I don't see him.
I think we lost him. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
I don't see him.
So then we would just take the opportunity, if anyone else, I know we are ready to close the room, but if anyone else has a question or a comment, this is a great opportunity. We have Ayman here in the room, so.
Yes, I can answer any questions about UAE and Saudi Arabia because we do cover these 2 jurisdictions, and we have our main office in Dubai, and we also have offices in Abu Dhabi, Riyadh, and Muscat.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do, actually, Ayman, I'm gonna officially stop the recording and then keep the room open for questions. So
okay.
Thank you, Ayman, and thank you, Adel, and everyone else who has participated today. Watch for the recording. I know people were asking for the presentation, so I guess we're gonna follow up on that. So thanks again, everyone. Have a good one, and let's just keep the room open for questions and comments. Thanks.